Hello everyone, I'm Tom, and since this coronavirus disruption started, I've been hosting this vlog to eat beef jerky and talk to you on the internet. Now, I'm not a food critic, so the beef jerky part is silly and pointless. But the vlog has let me explore some fun ideas with you, especially regarding game design, and I plan to keep doing it. Here we are on the 20th of December 2020. 5 days till Christmas. Is it? Yeah, 5 days till Christmas. My wife's super excited for the release of Wonder Woman 1984 on streaming services on Christmas Day. That's going to be her look. But, you know, we're actually doing real Christmas stuff with presents and a little tree and everything. So I hope everybody's Christmas is good. I hope that everybody stays safe this Christmas and enjoys Christmas with their smallest group of family and friends that they can very safely celebrate with. Everybody stay safe out there. There's going to be a next Christmas. If it's okay if you don't see Grandma this Christmas, in my opinion. Grandma might feel differently, but coronavirus is no joke. But we all know this. Christmas, yay! This is not a round-numbered episode. This is like 54, I think. Still, over 50 beef jerky episodes. What am I doing with my life? Making videos for you! Alright, so when we do these videos, we start talking about something about game design and game development. And what's on everybody's mind right now is Cyberpunk 2077. This is a new game that just came out. It had tremendous buzz, tremendous energy. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody was going to get it. It's from an Eastern European company called CD Projekt Red, I think. And they are most famous for their Witcher series of fantasy games that are very highly regarded. So everyone was looking forward to Cyberpunk, and if you follow the news on video games, you find that the rollout for this game in this last few days has been remarkably terrible. People dunked on it for all sorts of bugs, problems, and unfinished aspects. It got so bad that not only did the CG Projekt Red company basically said, okay, we'll give you refunds if you want, and this is the really big and the really unprecedented thing. Sony, who makes the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, not only said that they would also honor the refund requests, but they would take the actual product off of their PlayStation marketplaces. That's amazing. That's unprecedented. I have never really heard that before in the video game industry. One of the things about the kind of walled garden places, which is to say the console and mobile gaming services, these are places where you can't normally just make a game and stick it on a website and have people download it and play it. You've got to actually go through the marketplace of Sony or Apple or Google or Microsoft. You know, these big companies, they maintain their own marketplaces. They take a healthy cut of all the profits, and they have iron fists about what game shows up and does not show up on their products. This is nothing new. Nintendo has been working very hard to make this a reality since the 1980s. So, you know, this is just how it is. These walled gardens, these console games. But part of that, then, of course, is that they are kind of high-handed tyrants within their own marketplaces. They set all the rules. They define everything. What they say goes. They always win. The developers never, the developers are never the ones to, take advantage of the big companies. It's always the reverse. Apple's never going to lose on a transaction with me or any other game developer. Apple doesn't have to. Apple owns essentially the means of distribution, at least for that market space. And So, yeah, among other things, these companies don't care that much about the actual individual little player who bought a $5 or $40 or $70 game. That's really small fry to them. So they've generally not been the kind of situation where you get liberal return policies. In fact, the reverse. And that goes with Steam as well. When I do my Artemis game, from the beginning, I offered a complete 100%, no questions asked, full coverage return guarantee. And the reason I did that is because this is what I learned from my old school days during the period of time when video games sold on the internet were called shareware. Way back, we're talking in the early 90s. Actually, I guess early mid 90s is when the internet was really starting to creep up on us. Mostly, in 1992, I had to go onto the college campus to get access to something resembling the internet. But there, that transmission, that way of communicating data and moving data around existed, at least for me, in your college campus. But more importantly, in that day and age, it was still very much a kind of a, one indie developer copying their game onto a floppy disk, sticking it in a plastic bag, and actually, taking it down to the store to put it on the shelf. Way at the beginning of time in the 80s and the 90s. And of course, it transitioned to essentially mail order, and then from there to various downloading schemes as the internet actually became available. I guess what I'm trying to say is that way back in those days when people were selling, they were selling video games in a very personal way. It was very easy for a customer to say, I know who made this game. I know the person or two or three persons who made this game. I have their mailing address and their email and maybe even their phone number, and I have direct connection. I can say I like this or I don't like that. The sale is more personal, and actually, because it's more personal, old hands at that kind of marketing were like, most people are not mean. Most people, they'll buy a $20 game and they don't like it. They won't ask for their money back because they think you're a nice person. They just don't like your game. So, and in fact, the experience of talking to veteran shareware developers back in those days, the 90s, basically, person after person basically said two things. One is that practically nobody actually asked for a refund. So a full-fledged refund is not something that is a hard thing to honor. And number two, what's the other number two? In regards to these refunds, I guess I'll think of it in a second. At any rate, I am really digressing far afield here. I'm just saying that it has never been a challenge for me to offer a full money-back guarantee, but these giant corporations feel very differently, and many of their money-backs processes, their refund processes, are quite restrictive. You can only get your money back within the first 24 hours or even less, and then you may have to give up a portion of that and not get a full refund or something. So that leads us back to CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk, and the fact that Sony is offering a refund. And also, what I'm saying is it's extremely unusual. I mean, basically, a big company like Sony isn't normally just going to care about whether customers like or don't like a product on its platform. They've already checked it out. As far as they're concerned, it's good enough to sell. So, anybody asking for a refund at that point is just a whiny little customer as far as Sony's concerned. So to have them actually pull the product and, reaffirm the refund is shocking. I think, and fascinating. It's, to a certain extent, Sony only has itself to blame because, Sony set itself up as the arbiter. When you make a game and sell it on the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 5, or any of the PlayStations, any of them, you go through a certification process with Sony. You actually have to send the latest version of your game into Sony, and you have to pay them for the privilege of getting it tested. And by pay them, I mean $10,000 at minimum. You have to basically be a big company. And certainly that's how it was when I was working at Acclaim on All-Star Baseball 2002 and 2003 for the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube. Sony and Nintendo both had a certification process. The certification process was long. It was arduous. They both had big Bibles of do and not do things that we had to follow, or we would not be certified. And my managers would, basically be the firewall and the sword and the shield against what we considered these dragons. They would go out to California to where the testing center was. When they said, oh, well, we can't certify you because of A, B, and C bugs, our managers would freak out and fly out instantly and, oh, no, you've got to certify this. Oh, I disagree that bug exists. Blah, blah, blah. And, of course, it was way above our pay grade. We just, rank and file programmers and artists sitting in Austin, Texas, were just, we're doing our job the best we can. We finished the product as far as we can tell. We're sitting on our hands waiting for certification. And then, of course, if we actually got a certification failure and a list of reasons why, we had to all hands on deck, can't go home, 18-hour days to fix these bugs so they can go back to certification where the company could pay for another round of certification. And I mean, our company. So what I'm saying is that these big companies really are setting themselves up for their blame if they let a substandard product onto their platform in the first place. They had a process. They had a testing system. And even if it's two big companies working well together, it's surprising and weird that Sony, especially a Japanese company, would basically look the other way and sell a less than perfect product. Now, having said that, one of the dark and dirty secrets of all these testing things, not just for Sony or Nintendo, but also for things like the ESRB rating system, is that these certification testers don't actually play the whole game. They can't. They don't have enough time in the day, especially for huge open world RPG kind of 100-hour games, which Cyberpunk supposedly is. So to a large extent, they rely on the company giving them a list of, oh, here are all the objectionable parts, here are all the troublesome parts, here are all the things that you should focus on and pay attention to so that you can get your testing done in a short amount of time. And also, Sony, Nintendo, these things, they have actual sub-testers whose job is not to test whether the game works and is good or not, but simply to test things like, does it read the CD correctly, and does it handle it correctly when you unplug the controller in the middle of the game? There's that giant Bible of to do and not to do is not really about whether the game is any good or how the game is supposed to play. It's about these little things like what happens when the controller gets unplugged, times 5,000. So I've been there. It's a problem. It's stressful. It's and the other thing I wanted to say about Cyberpunk 2077 and its travails Kind of also has to do with why I keep going to a little game retreat in Texas called Project Horseshoe. I actually go for several reasons, but one of the reasons is because I am not in the video game industry anymore. At least I don't collect a paycheck from somebody. I am an indie doing my own thing in my own home office, and so I'm kind of disconnected from the industry. So going to a weekend retreat with actual industry professionals who are still working in the big companies allows me to keep my ear to the ground, to plug back into the game industry, to see what's going on, to see how things have changed or not changed, whatever. And both what's happening with Cyberpunk and my experience of going to this conference year after year, they both teach me the same thing, that nothing has changed about the video game industry. I mean, nothing. It's the same video game industry it was when I was in it from 92 to 2003. It treats the workers the same way, it treats the technology the same way, it treats the development process the same way. As far as I can tell, nothing significant has changed. And that's very sad. That's very sad, because there were a lot of reasons and a lot of experiences that I had in my professional industry experience that contributed to me going indie, to me saying, I don't want this anymore. I want to go off and strike out on my own so that I can sidestep all the stuff that I don't want to deal with anymore. And to put up with things like, the professional loneliness, that's not inconsequential, but I'm willing to put up with it because I don't actually have to work in any of those companies anymore. Yay! So I think there's actually a ton more to say about Cyberpunk 2077 and its travails and what's going on and its marketing and what's wrong with it and what's right with it. But I think I've talked enough about it for this Jerky video. I'm glad to have talked about how it means that unfortunately not much has changed, but also some things have changed, like the fact that Sony actually offered a refund and pulled a product off the marketplace. That's just amazing to me. Alright, so this Jerky video is not about video games, it's actually about jerky. And boy, have we got some jerky today. Hey kids, this is Field Trip Everything All Natural Beef Jerky, Brooklyn style, with everything you see here, kind of strangely, whatever. But anyways, it's got a cow and a bagel, and it's just everything. It's a mammoth pack, as you can see. So I'm excited about trying this. It's definitely promises to be weird and bold, and that's what I look for in this video. I don't necessarily look for hot, and that's the cheapest way to make things pretend to be bold. But I don't know. I have no real preconceptions about this particular jumbo bag of Brooklyn style everything natural beef jerky. Smells like beef jerky. Let me see if I get the piece here. It's a big piece. This is a smallish piece. Let's try that. All right. Brooklyn style. Whatever that is. All right, well, it's dark and molassesy. It's not so bad. I wouldn't call it super bold, but it's soft. It's not shoe leather. It keep waiting for it to kick me in the teeth with its spiciness, and it doesn't. Obviously, it's not very spicy. A little bit spicy. I can feel just a hint of spicy. That's basically all you're getting with this. But not bad. Not bad. If you like a really, kind of a dark tasting, molassesy tasting jerky that's not shoe leather, I probably can recommend this. I don't understand why everything was in big letters, because I don't taste everything. I just taste, kind of a thick beef jerky taste. But, you know, whatever they got to do. It's not so bad. All right, let me take a drink. And we can open the mailbag. As usual, the mailbag is generally filled by Adam Parra. Thank you, Adam. Now, last video, we talked about Christmas games. We talked about games that were marketed or styled as Christmas games, or games that had Christmas elements or Christmas updates. And I was kind of down and cynical on the whole thing. But Adam says, thanks for making a new video. Thank you, Adam. I play a great co-op game named Deep Rock Galactic. I've heard a lot about the game. It's very cool. I like it. It's very, it's not in any way really asymmetric. Everybody's a little astronaut running around with their tools, but it's extremely co-op in the sense that you're all working together to achieve goals and fight off dangers. And it seems very procedural too. It seems like it's a different game every time. So it looks like a lot of fun, but I haven't really played it. He says, in the month of October, they had jack-o'-lanterns, which would have resources or mobs in them when you destroyed them. It was a nice twist. Yeah, that was what I was talking about, Adam, with the Christmas updates, the holiday updates that many, especially MMOs or persistent online games. One of the ways in which they distinguish themselves is updating regularly. And one of the things that they can do, and they often do, is update with holiday content, like, jack-o'-lanterns out of nowhere. Fun, silly, hey, yeah, it's Halloween, and look, there's a jack-o'-lantern. To the extent to which that pleases you, that's awesome. I think that's great. I think that's actually one of the more valid ways to do Christmas games, or to do Christmas game content, or holiday game content, because it's already inside an existing game. You're not there, you weren't lured in by the attraction of the jack-o'-lantern. That was it's just a fun little thing on the side. There are many holiday games that basically sell themselves as being holiday games, and that's why you would buy the game. And I find that very cynical. I find that very, I'm very cynical about it. I find that very hypocritical, or, facile. Superficial. Yeah, there you go. That's the word I'm looking for. But yeah, the jack-o'-lanterns in Deep Rock Galactic, that's fun. That's just cool. That's fun. If I ever really do another MMO, I'll do that too. I'll put in jack-o'-lanterns and snowmen when the time comes. All right, so once again in this video, we saw this big bag of field trip, Brooklyn style, everything, all natural beef jerky. Quite a lot of packaging and presentation to say, it's okay beef jerky. 6 out of 10. I mean, it's, nothing to write home about, but nothing bad at all. Especially if you like a mild and a dark, molassesy tasting jerky, I could say this is for you. All right. Thank you for joining me on my video again, and I'll see you next time.